A fierce warrior on horseback, rearing up against a fiery night sky, her infant tied to her back as she charges into cannon fire. It is one of the most enduring, romanticized images of the 19th century. But the woman behind that legend started life far away from the battlefield. Born in Varanasi as Manikarnika, or Manu, she lost her mother at a very young age and was moved to the Peshwa's court in Bithur. There, she received an education that was highly unusual for the time. Raised alongside the boys of the court, including future rebellion leaders Nana Sahib and Tatya Tope, she spent her childhood mastering sword fighting, target shooting, and horsemanship. Training alongside these future revolutionaries gave Manikarnika a physical and mental discipline entirely outside the experience of most 19th century Indian women. She was entering adulthood with the specific skills required to command. At age 14, she married the king of Jhansi, taking the name Laxmi Bai. That her time in the palace was quickly defined by tragedy. She gave birth to a son who died after just 4 months, and her grieving husband fell terminally ill shortly after. Knowing the king was dying, Laxmi Bai made a calculated strategic move. They adopted a cousin's child, naming him Damodar Rao, to legally secure the kingdom's lineage before her husband passed away. This diagram illustrates the legal logic of the doctrine of lapse. It was a bureaucratic weapon devised by Lord Dalhousie, the Governor-General of the British East India Company. The policy stated that if an Indian ruler died without a natural biological heir, the royal line was legally broken, and the kingdom's assets automatically rerouted to the British crown. Adopted sons did not count. Dalhousie expected a grieving widow to quietly accept the loss of her fort and retire on a small British pension. Instead, by stripping a highly trained, strategically minded queen of her rightful sovereignty, the British unwittingly ignited a powder keg. Laxmi Bai openly defied the British orders to vacate her fortress. Her response to the annexation was a single, unwavering declaration: "Men apni Jhansi mahidungi," I will not give up my Jhansi. This is a 19th century muzzle-loading percussion rifle, the physical weapon that served as the immediate catalyst for widespread rebellion. In 1857, rumors spread that the new rifle cartridges, which sepoys had to bite open, were greased with cow and pig fat. For Hindu and Muslim soldiers already suffering under heavy economic exploitation, this severe religious offense was the final straw. Mutiny erupted across the country, with the British military suddenly scrambling to suppress the uprisings across northern India. Laxmi Bai capitalized on the chaos. She completely retook administrative and military control of Jhansi, managing its revenues and organizing its defense while the British were distracted. By seizing that window of opportunity, she transformed overnight from a displaced, mourning widow into the rogue, sovereign head of an independent state. Within these massive stone fortifications, Queen Laxmi Bai established a full military infrastructure. She raised a new army, trained a dedicated women's battalion, and oversaw the repair of heavy cannons to prepare for a prolonged defense. When British General Hugh Rose finally arrived to reclaim the city, he brought a technologically advanced force. What followed was a brutal, unrelenting artillery bombardment against Jhansi's walls, pouring fire into the city for days. The climax of the siege came when overwhelming British firepower, aided by a betrayal from within the city, finally breached the defenses. Refusing to be captured, Laxmi Bai tied Damodar Rao to her back, mounted her horse, and executed a daring midnight tactical retreat straight through enemy lines, riding hard toward the rebel stronghold of Kalpi. Successfully leading a retreat through a British encirclement required sophisticated battlefield judgment. In that moment, she was outmaneuvering the professional officers of a superior empire. This imposing sandstone structure is the Gwalior Fort Complex. After escaping Jhansi, Laxmi Bai joined forces with her childhood friend Tatya Tope, regrouping their rebel army and pushing their military campaign to this massive strategic stronghold. The final phases of the campaign were chaotic and bloody. Against relentless British artillery, Laxmi Bai maintained an active presence on the front lines. Dressed in cavalry uniform, she commanded her troops from horseback, fighting at the vanguard with a sword in each hand. During a fierce cavalry charge, she sustained severe, fatal wounds. Yet even as she bled, she continued to fight, striking down British soldiers until her dying breath. Her death on the battlefield was the ultimate, tragic fulfillment of the promise she made back in her palace. She never surrendered her sovereignty while she drew breath. Even in death, she commanded profound respect from her conquerors. British General Hugh Rose, the man who spent months hunting her down, wrote that she was the bravest and most dangerous of all the Indian rebellion leaders. The immediate reality of the battle was a loss. The rebellion was ultimately suppressed, and Jhansi fell firmly back into British hands. But the long-term psychological victory belonged to the rebels. By forcing a highly equipped colonial army into brutal, drawn-out sieges, Laxmi Bai's violent resistance proved that the British Empire was entirely vulnerable. By leading a cavalry charge into British lines, she challenged the era's social restrictions on women and created the psychological template for the 20th century independence movement. She remains an eternal symbol of national courage.